Now I know many of you will look at the new Audi Q5 and say that for 480,000 ringgit, why would you buy something that is the size of a Mercedes-Benz GLC or a BMW X3 when you could get a BMW X5 or a Volvo XC90? And I'd like to agree with you. But the trouble is, over the last few days that I've spent with this car, while I still agree that it is heinously expensive for what it is, I also don't think it ought to be dismissed that easily. And if you'd like to know more about what I'm talking about, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell before we continue. But my name is Aiman I. Abdullah, this is Malaysian Motoring, this is our review of the 2022 Audi Q5. Now, Audi Malaysia, under Porsche Holding Salzburg, knows that they're not a volume seller, and so to simplify the lineup, the Q5 is available in one variant, and that is this 2-litre TFSI Quattro in S-Line guise. And because this is an S-Line car, which is sort of like BMW M or AMG line for Mercedes-Benz, it looks a little bit more aggressive. So the single frame grille is done up in this beautiful satin chrome. You get very pronounced satin chrome inserts at the corner of the bumpers, which frame the radar modules on either side. Those are not fog lights. And the front overall looks a little bit more in your face and aggro than it would otherwise. Down the side, you get more contrasting down at the bottom of the doors. You get 19-inch alloy wheels wrapped in Continental Conti Sport Contact 5 tyres, which are very grippy and very quiet. You get a little S-Line badge here, functional satin roof rails, and then at the back, you get quad fake exhaust and more satin trim down on the bottom, which does match this chrome piece that goes all the way across the redesigned tailgate. Now, because this is a facelift car, we get new full LED taillights, which I think look rather smart, but because of the clamshell design of the boot, it does necessitate a second set of lights down here so that when you open the tailgate, the lights simply move down to the bottom. Now, with the tailgate open, you will see there is a decent amount of cargo room in here. It's sort of par for the course, it's neither bigger or smaller, but I do appreciate the fact that the seats fold 40-20-40 and you can fold them from the rear, so it's very easy for you to load things in and out. You also get this cargo net, which helps to keep smaller items in place so they don't swing around in case of enthusiastic driving, which you might get up to given this is ultimately a Quattro model. Anyway, more of this additional cost may not necessarily be visible from the outside, but to me, the interior is where that price premium really comes into play. Now, like I said, the interior of this car is where I feel most of that extra cost is justified. Because the thing about Audis is, although they are just another luxury car maker, not that far different from what you get from BMW, Mercedes-Benz and Volvo, there's a certain level of quality that you get in an Audi that you just don't get anywhere else. These buttons, for example, all have a very nice action to them, and all the knobs have this lovely, pleasing sound to them. Let me just take my mic off to show you what I mean. And as a result, it means that everything in here feels very pleasing and very satisfactory to use. Even the aircon vents have a lovely action to them, which make them just so satisfying. And then that's before you get to the other touch points. So for example, these lovely cognac seats are actually done in Napa leather, which you certainly do not get on an X3 or a Mercedes-Benz GLC. And you definitely don't get this color either because they're all very conservative, so everything is black. And you also get a lovely soft leather wrap steering wheel in this car with a better leather quality than you get in the competitors. All of the surfaces in this car are lovely and soft touch. It's only when you get sort of down here onto the doors does it get a little bit harder wearing. And as a result, again, you feel like the car starts to justify some of its cost. The other way it does so is in terms of technology. So for example, you get a Audi virtual cockpit ahead of you, which is one of the best digital instrument clusters available on the market. It has a fantastic refresh rate, it has great graphics, and the customizability is sort of beyond what you get from other car makers. And that, of course, is paired to a new Audi MMI system, which is very easy to use, it's very snappy, the graphics are fantastic, and I think that this may go down as one of the best in-car infotainment systems currently available. The only thing that I take away from this is the fact that it doesn't have anything other than touch input. Now, when Mercedes-Benz does this, it's kind of okay because their new screens are all a little bit closer and it's easier for you to touch. And Audi used to get around this by having an MMI controller that used to live here. But as part of this update with this new beautiful screen that sits here, they got rid of the rotary controller here, which means now everything requires a touch. And as you can see, when I'm sat in my ideal driving position, I do have to stretch a little in order to manipulate the screen, and that is a little bit of a detraction. But in terms of ergonomics, aside from the screen, everything here is nice because everything here is exactly where you expect it to be. You get knobs and switches for your climate control, you get a drive select button down here, all your light controls are on this side, and you get a separate stop for your adaptive cruise control, which lives down here. And because of that, this car is very easy to use. And it's also very easy to live with because this car is quite practical. You get a decently sized glove box, you get a decently sized center console, you can actually put bottles in here, and you even have a little sliding center console for you to put more things in here. And of course, because the removal of the MMI controller here, you now have some space for some cards. You also get another card holder here, but there is no wireless charging in this car. And more notably, there is only wireless Apple CarPlay, not wireless Android Auto, which I wouldn't normally take points away from, but because this is nearly 500,000 ringgit, it really ought to have that. Now, in the back of the Q5, space is pretty decent because these seats are mounted quite high up. I have excellent under-thigh support and my legs can go straight down, which means I don't need that much space. But even if I stretch out, you can see my knee room is pretty impressive. Headroom is certainly no issue at all. And I have a couple of aircon vents here with my own climate zone because obviously this is an expensive car. Obviously it comes with triple zone climate control. What this car also comes with are some rear sun blinds, which is great if you have children. You also get ISOFIX mounts on the two outer seats and this center console, which includes a couple of cup holders. You also get a 12-volt socket down there, which is a little bit disappointing because I would expect to find USB-C ports. But that said, this car only has one USB-C port and it's in the center console. A bit strange. You also get reclinable rear seats, although the recline angle is truly kind of pathetic. It goes sort of from here to here. And ultimately, the space back here is usable, practical, and in terms of space, it's very generous. And I wouldn't mind sitting back here for a longer drive. 4 adults could sit back here, but 5 adults would be a bit difficult because this center seat, although it is decently wide, you have a very large tunnel for you to sort of straddle. So that might be a bit difficult. And also because of where the center aircon vents are mounted, the center passenger will just have their crotch cooled rather than the 2 outer passengers getting cooled. But anyway, that aside and cold crotches be gone, we must now talk about the way this car drives because that too has been a bit of a surprise. Now, before I get to the drive of the Audi Q5, we have to first talk about the powertrain. So under the bonnet is a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged engine paired to a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic with power going to all 4 wheels via an Audi Quattro system. Now, for those of you who may not necessarily be as versed with this as the rest of us, Audi's Quattro system is sort of like an on-demand all-wheel drive system, which I think, I'm quite right in saying, is perhaps one of the best all-wheel drive systems available on the market, at least in terms of part-time all-wheel drive systems. The reason for this is because it reacts a lot faster than other all-wheel drive systems, such as Mercedes-Benz's 4MATIC, or indeed BMW's xDrive. And so in terms of not only transmitting the power from the engine room to the ground, but also in terms of ensuring grip when conditions are a bit more adverse, I personally trust Quattro a lot more than the systems from the other German brands. Now, in terms of output, The outputs on this engine are rather healthy because, as we know, Volkswagen does do a pretty good job in terms of tuning their engines to get the best out of it. And so this Audi Q5 really does benefit from a very optimized engine. And so in terms of power delivery, it's very smooth. The dual clutch automatic does an excellent job of sort of blending the gears together and ensuring that all the gear shifts are seamless when you're in comfort or automatic mode. This car does have quite a few drive modes to select from, but in terms of how the car is to drive, and this links back to the drive mode, so I'll get back to that in a moment. But in terms of how this car drives, you can tell that it's been set up for comfort more than anything else. Although this car does have adaptive suspension, which means you can set it to be a lot firmer and a lot more performance oriented or sporty if you'd like, you can tell that this car is best in comfort mode, because when you're in comfort and you've got the settings, the suspension set to comfort, this car glides over the imperfections in the road with almost a Lexus-like quality. And I don't mean new Lexus, I mean old school Lexus. And it makes for a very serene driving experience. Now, that's not to say that body control has been compromised in any way, because this car does hold itself very well, especially around bends at high speed on motorways, which means that drivers will enjoy a degree of confidence in this car. Not too dissimilar to what you get from the BMW X3, although this car is certainly more comfortable than that. But what I find personally very impressive in this car, where it outshines the competition, is in terms of NVH, or noise, vibration and harshness, or refinement, as I normally refer to this entire category. Now, this car runs on Continental Conti Sport Contact tires, like I mentioned earlier, and the tires themselves are pretty good. They're very grippy, and normally when you get grippy tires, they tend to be a little bit noisy. But somehow, in this car, the tires are very quiet, or the sound dampening in this car is so excellent because you hear almost nothing from the wheel wells. And as for wind noise, you have to be well over the national speed limit before you get any sort of aural intrusion from wind noise. And I find that to be very, very impressive, because I've had to do distances in the Mercedes-Benz GLC and the BMW X3, and while they certainly weren't uncomfortably loud, they also weren't whisper quiet. And this Audi Q5 seems to outperform them in terms of NVH excellently. And then you get to the fact that this engine is also very muted. Of course, if you were to floor it like I am now, you will hear it, but when you're not, when you're driving like a sensible person, it's almost like I'm driving electric, and I absolutely love that. The other thing that I must point out about this car is the fuel consumption. So even though this is a very powerful 2-litre 4-cylinder engine, the fuel consumption in this car has been nothing short of excellent. So we've driven this car about 532 kilometers so far. It says I've got another 100 kilometers to go, and bear in mind that I did not receive this car with a full tank. I had maybe 7/8 of a tank. And even then, this car will very easily do about 700 kilometers on a single tank. And bear in mind that I also have to drive quite aggressively in order to test these cars out fully. And in terms of the fuel consumption itself, the car has been reporting to me easily between 8 to 9 liters per 100 kilometers, no matter how adverse or how terrible the traffic conditions might be. Now, I find that very impressive, because a Mercedes-Benz GLC will fail to return anything less than about 11 liters per 100 kilometers, and a BMW X3, well, it's been recently facelifted, so we'll wait until we drive that car to say a little bit more. This sort of fuel consumption is very similar to what we would get from the plug-in hybrid Volvo XC60. And again, that is a plug-in hybrid. That is depending on whether or not you actually plug the car in and maximize the PHEV powertrain. So overall, the Audi Q5, as I said in the beginning of this review, does justify that additional expense to some degree. And then you get on to the technology. So as I mentioned earlier, you've got the double screens. This is actually a connected system. So it's got its own SIM card, and so you do get live traffic updates, although not really that accurate because they are dependent on other Audis being on the road, and Audi is not exactly a mass player in our market. So take with that what you will, but most importantly, if you have an Audi app, that means you can actually talk to your car, you can interact with your car via the app, because the car is always connected. And then When moving on from convenience tech, we go to safety tech. So the Audi Q5 is equipped from 2022 onwards with a full suite of active safety systems, which means you get autonomous emergency braking, adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, blind spot monitoring, all that good stuff. And on Volkswagen Group cars, their ADAS systems are almost as good as what you get from Korean brands like Genesis or Kia or Hyundai. And as a result, it means that you can trust this car when it comes to long distance drives or even driving through traffic, which I think is where adaptive cruise control really comes into its own. And so that does mean that the Q5 is very comprehensively equipped for all intents and purposes. Sure, you could get a Volvo XC60, which has more power, more torque, better fuel economy because it's a plug-in hybrid, and you get a Bowers & Wilkins audio system and a slightly easier infotainment system. The list is kind of dragging on, but the point I'm trying to make is, although this is significantly more expensive than the competition, it's expensive for a reason. Of course, it will be very difficult to recommend this car, because if someone were to come to me and say, I'd like to spend less than 500,000 ringgit on an SUV, a luxury SUV, to cart myself and my family around, I would naturally recommend vehicles like the Volvo XC90 or the Mercedes-Benz GLE if you do long distances, or the BMW X5 if you only need 5 seats and spend most of your time in town, because it does have better range than the Volvo XC90. But there are some people, what I call the most discerning customer, the kind of people who have access to a lot of money and are willing to spend a lot of money on a car and ultimately want the best possible experience. And for these particular customers, if they're looking for the best compact luxury SUV out there, irregardless of cost and irregardless of price, then this might be it. Because to me, it's very clear that this is the superior option. It is the superior car within this segment because it also commands a premium. So its appeal is specifically for those customers, the ones who are willing to spend, who want this size, they want this body style, they want this package, and are willing to spend any money necessary to get the best vehicle in this category. This is what it is. I can say that with confidence. The Audi Q5 is easily the best compact luxury SUV that money can currently buy. Is it good value? No, because for this money, again, I'd recommend a Volvo. If you want something of this size, an XC60, or if you're willing to maximize your money, get an XC90. If you want better driving dynamics, get a BMW X3, and if you want a swoopy backed coupe type thing, Mercedes-Benz will sell you a locally assembled GLC 300. But the best in the segment is this. That's the end of it. And I think that if Audi continues to spend money marketing these cars to those customers, creating and curating experiences for their most discerning customers to experience what the new generation of Audi is, then I think they may be able to enjoy the level of success that they target in our market. And that is certainly an exciting prospect for me. In any case, that's been our review of the Audi Q5 2-litre TFSI Quattro. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell icon so you're notified every time we make a new upload. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. All the links are in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Take care, stay safe, jangan bodoh.